But for whatever reason, probably one related to my MMO suspicions earlier, or even because they haven't got enough confidence in themselves to make another Zerg campaign where the player is on Team Evil, Blizzard totally shoehorns the idea of Kerrigan's redemption by Raynor. In their feeble attempts to make this more plausible, they not only completely contradict the most important decision Raynor made in Brood War, they also make the most interesting and complex character from the first game into a one-note villain.
An impressive defense, but not nearly impressive enough.
You see, the critical distinction between Kerrigan's character in the original StarCraft and her character in StarCraft 2 is one of agency.
Fate cannot be changed.
Without agency, a character just reacts passively to things going on around them. Characters with agency have motivations, make decisions, and generally interact in some meaningful way with the story and the world.
You've got 3 seconds to come clean. Then I start shooting.
Now, having a character without agency generally gets a pass in many video games because of the way the story is told. Having a character without agency allows the player to use them to interact with the game world directly. My point here is that Kerrigan's rise to power as the Queen of Blades in StarCraft and Brood War was driven by a very clear motivation. She'd suffered equally at the hands of the humans and the Zerg and pretty much wanted revenge on everyone. She wanted to get back at Mengsk for betraying her, and she wanted to do it by making the very aliens that had caused her so much torment into her own subservient pawns. At no point in Brood War did she express any regrets about what she was doing or suggest that she didn't have complete control over her own mind or actions as an infested Terran. Except when she was lying.
Why should we believe anything you have to say?
Because, Zeratul, I'm no longer the mindless murderess whom you fought on Char. The Overmind is dead. Whatever warped control it once had over me is gone. I know that this is a lot to take in all at once, but you've got to believe me.
In fact, the entire point of Brood War was that Kerrigan was lying to everyone's fucking faces about the possibility that she could simply get over the Overmind's will and become redeemable. First she dupes Artanis and Zeratul, then she pulls it again with Mengsk and Phoenix.
I've ensured the destruction of the renegade Cerebrats, and I used you to do it.
This entire chain of events has been masterminded by Kerrigan, and we played right into her hands.
I used you to destroy the Psi Disruptor. And now that I've got my broods back, you're no longer necessary for my plans.
Yes, we did, Artanis.
Murdering bitch. We had a deal.
You see, at this point, I'm pretty much the queen bitch of the universe.
The idea that Kerrigan had the potential to regain her humanity has been explored to death, and has been proven wrong, not even once, but twice. You can't repeatedly prove that a character is irredeemable, then have a redemption arc. That is bullshit! This also leads into my second tangent into the Warcraft universe. I'm sure it's pretty well known among RTS nerds that Blizzard pulled the same trick twice with Kerrigan and Arthas, using them quite cleverly as a bridge between 2 early campaigns that were introducing both the story and the mechanics of the game. Kerrigan's abduction by the Zerg allows her story to cover both the Terran and Zerg campaigns of StarCraft 1. Meanwhile, Arthas' fall from grace allows him to connect the human and undead campaigns in Warcraft 3.
What trickery is this?
Both of them succumb to the clutches of evil and become villains in order to facilitate this neat little transition. But of the 2 of them, Arthas was the one who clearly represented something while he was good, and had a clear arc during his fall. At first he's a headstrong and idealistic leader who wants to protect his people, perhaps a little too eagerly.
Then let's get in there and destroy the beasts.
Remember, Arthas, we are paladins.
But he gets so into it, he starts burning down entire towns to save his kingdom. By the time he starts destroying his own ships in Northrend, it's become obvious that during the course of his fight against the undead, he's completely forgotten what a paladin is.
You lied to your men and betrayed the mercenaries who fought for you. What's happening to you, Arthas? Is vengeance all as important to you?
Spare me, Muradin. You weren't there to see what Mal'Ganis did to my homeland.
It was a clear case of a high ideal that had gone too far. As far as fallen hero stories go, Arthas is pretty good, at least for a video game. Kerrigan, on the other hand, was just another grimy person in a galaxy full of assholes. She came from a bad background and kinda just had a job to do. Eventually, she gets betrayed into the hands of evil aliens. At no point during the story did she have any kind of special significance as some kind of hero.
Funny. I never thought of you as anyone's martyr.
Arthas also had a clear-cut case of the exact story Wings of Liberty tried to retcon Kerrigan into. That is to say, his will had clearly been subverted at some point. He picked up a fucking sword that had been repeatedly and clearly stated to corrupt souls, and he doesn't let go of it at any point, for fuck's sake.
I've damned everyone and everything I've ever loved in his name. And I still feel no remorse, no shame, no pity.
The rune blade you carry was forged by the Lich King and empowered to steal souls. Yours was the first one it claimed.
Then I'll make do without one.
Even as they're building up for the MMO in Frozen Throne, he's clearly got regrets when he becomes the Lich King at the end. You can hear the whispering voices of everyone who criticized all the bad decisions he made, and he's clearly so consumed by bitterness that he has no idea what he's doing anymore. Blizzard got these two character arcs fucking backwards. I gather that Arthas gets killed as like a raid boss or something in World of Warcraft. I don't really know since I don't play games made for little girls. But if you compare his story and his character with Kerrigan's, his is the one that's clearly begging for a redemption arc. They even have a character who might plausibly have some forgiveness in her heart for him in Jaina.
Arthas is only doing what he believes is right.
I'm the man who's gonna kill you someday.
But in StarCraft II Wings of Liberty, Kerrigan does effectively nothing except parading around dispensing cringe-inducing villain speak. She's been completely robbed of the calculating menace that she possessed in Brood War, and is effectively a damsel in distress. And aggravatingly, she really is central to the story, and constantly talked about despite the fact that she doesn't do anything. Once again, this is about the agency of the character. In this game, Kerrigan is just there. The reason she and the Zerg appear in the first act at all is because she wants the artifacts, and the timing or motivation of that desire is never vocalized.
I know what the artifacts really are, and they will be mine.
This game really is all about Raynor, and Kerrigan has nothing to do except be something for him to project onto. If the whole game is going to be about the hero and his relationship to the villain, then there needs to be something. Or anything. Certainly more than this cavalcade of poor writing that no actress could save regardless of how high profile she was.
I forgot how resourceful you were, Jim. You can't leave well enough alone, can you, Jim? I won't make that mistake twice. It was stupid of you to come here. You never could recognize a lost cause, could you, Jim? I so loved the way you kindle their hope, Jim. By all means, bring them all to my doorstep. Do you think death is the worst thing that can happen to you here? Infestation is what's coming for you. It'll be like lambs to the slaughter. Soon all will start to swarm. Warfield won't be alive for very much longer. My pets will be drawn to his fear, and that of his men. Some invasion. There's absolutely nothing you can do.
You're sure talking a lot, Kerrigan.
And worst of all, Wings of Liberty obnoxiously seems to think that mind control by the Zerg infestation is an adequate explanation for all of this, despite the fact that it directly contradicts the events of the previous games.
You will pay for this treachery.
Don't give up. I hear Sarah.
So after a couple of well-designed missions getting to Kerrigan's main hive cluster inch by bloody inch, the final showdown involves defending the artifact so it can power up and do its thing. Fortunately for the human strike force, the device does exactly what they need it to do and blows away all the Zerg cells or something. Then Raynor and Tychus bust into the hive to find Kerrigan. Is this actually happening? Was anyone else convinced it was gonna go like this?
Dumb.
Anyway, then Tychus is revealed to be a mole for Mengsk all along, and Raynor shoots him in the face. Whatever. I really was just too shocked for words watching this ending. The build-up to the idea that Kerrigan could be turned human again was so forceful that I was actually convinced it was a red herring. When it actually went and happened, I didn't know how to feel other than insulted and pissed off. It's like this was all decided in advance. Hi, Sarah. When would be a good time for us to come over and blast you with an alien artifact? Oh, I see you're busy Tuesday. Tell you what, I'll just pen you in for Friday, and you just call us if anything comes up. If you'll forgive me a bit of personal anecdote, at this point I should explain that I beat Brood War just before I started playing Wings of Liberty. The last few missions were so hard that even a decade after the game hit, I was only really motivated to finish it by the arrival of StarCraft 2. So basically the events of Brood War were pretty fresh in my memory. The amount of persistence and frustration to beat that last level alone, only to have everything done for Kerrigan's character all undone right out of the gate in the first installment of the StarCraft 2 trilogy, is pretty fucking infuriating. I really can't stress this enough. The two major plot developments in Brood War were that Kerrigan was proven irredeemable, and that she rises to gain control of the Zerg by her own ambition. The ending to Wings of Liberty spits in the face of anyone who played it, let alone anyone who actually beat the last 3 or so balls-hard Zerg missions. Now, I really don't know that much about Chris Metzen, other than that he makes some pretty bitching art. But I've heard rumors that he wrote the overreaching plot to Brood War and was in a pretty dark place at the time of that game's development. As a character in StarCraft 1, Kerrigan was pretty hard-edged. It's really what's missing in Wings of Liberty. Obviously, Heart of the Swarm is going to be more focused on her. I don't know what they're going to do with her. I haven't followed it because I don't really care. But what we've seen in this game doesn't really hint much of an interesting arc for her at all. And I'm just mortified about the direction they seem to be going with the Zerg. Seriously, just ask your local enduring Final Fantasy fan how well giving Part 2 a chance to explain Part 1's bullshit pans out.